Let me tell you something that took me years to understand. Silence is not the absence of strength, it is the evidence of it. In a world that glorifies noise, applause, and constant validation, the one who learns to be silent is often the one who's already won half the battle. You don't have to raise your voice to prove your point. You don't need to fight every battle or answer every critic. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing and keep moving. You see, there's a quietness that comes when your confidence no longer depends on the opinions of others. When you know who you are, you stop needing to be seen. You stop needing to explain yourself, defend yourself, or seek applause. You're not staying silent because you're afraid. You're staying silent because your focus is too precious to be wasted on noise. And make no mistake, not all battles are worth fighting. Not every voice deserves a response. Some arguments are just traps set to pull you away from your assignment. There was a time I used to believe that silence made me appear weak. I thought that if I didn't speak up, if I didn't correct every misunderstanding, that somehow I was giving away my power. But the truth is, it takes more strength to hold your peace than it does to fight with fools. The strong don't need to speak to be heard. Their life becomes the message. Their work, their progress, their peace, it speaks for them. Silence is not just something you do, it's a posture of trust. When you stay silent, you're saying, God, I trust you to vindicate me. I trust you to handle what I cannot, and He will. Sometimes the reason the door hasn't opened yet, or the reason the breakthrough seems delayed, is because you're still trying to fight battles that aren't yours to fight. You're still trying to control outcomes with your words, when what you really need is surrender. God doesn't need your defense, He needs your faith. When Jesus stood before His accusers, He didn't argue, He didn't scream, He didn't justify Himself. He stood in silence because He knew the truth didn't need to be shouted. That silence was not weakness, it was power under control. That silence wasn't retreat, it was authority. And in your life, there will be times when you are misunderstood, misjudged, underestimated. Let them. Your silence in those moments isn't silence at all. It's a statement that you are grounded, anchored, and unmoved. The people who shout the loudest often are the ones looking for something they don't yet have. Validation, relevance, worth. But when you know you're walking in purpose, you don't chase after acknowledgement. You let your consistency do the talking. You let your results make the noise. The tree doesn't need to explain how tall it's growing. It just keeps reaching. And one day the same people who ignored the seed will have no choice but to notice the fruit. Staying silent isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about mastering your spirit. You've got to get to a place where your peace cannot be stolen just because someone else is having a bad day. You've got to mature to the point where people's opinions don't interrupt your progress. And listen to me. When the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you. He'll send confusion, offense, pointless debates, anything to pull you out of alignment. But when you stay silent, when you hold your focus, when you refuse to play the game, you win. Every time. Don't waste your energy proving to people what God already spoke over your life. Let them think what they want. Let them say what they will. You keep building. You keep showing up. You keep doing the work in silence. And the time will come when your breakthrough will speak louder than your defense ever could. Stay grounded, stay focused, stay silent, and watch what happens. There's a kind of growth that only happens in silence, away from the noise, away from the crowd, away from the pressure to perform. We live in a world that convinces us we need to always be seen to matter, always be heard to be relevant. But there is a deeper work that God does in the unseen places of your life. That's where transformation begins, not on the stage, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet corners of your soul where nobody's watching and nothing is applauding. Some of the most powerful seasons of your life will feel lonely, not because you're unloved, but because you're being separated. And separation isn't rejection, it's preparation. God often isolates before He elevates. He pulls you aside not to punish you, but to process you, to show you who you are without the noise, to teach you how to be whole without needing a crowd to clap for you. Growth requires stillness, requires discipline, and yes, sometimes it requires you to walk alone. Think about the seed. Before it becomes anything, it has to go underground, hidden, unseen. It has to break in the dark before it can rise in the light. Nobody celebrates the seed when it's buried. There's no applause for the breaking, but it's necessary. That isolation is not abandonment, it's divine development. And in your life, there will be seasons where God buries you, not to forget you, but to prepare you, to strengthen your roots before He ever allows you to bloom. People may not understand what you're doing. They might say you've changed. They might think you're being distant, cold, or different. Let them think what they want. You are not here to explain your process. You're here to protect it. Because when you're building something real within yourself, you don't have time to be everywhere and please everyone. You're not available to distractions when you're committed to your destiny. You've got to learn to embrace those silent seasons where it feels like nothing's moving, where it feels like your prayers are echoing back to you, because those are the seasons where God is doing His deepest work. He's pruning your heart, healing your wounds, building your character. You may not see it yet, but you'll feel it later when you start walking in rooms with a quiet confidence, when you no longer depend on attention to feel valuable, when you no longer seek love from places that only drained you. That's the fruit of private growth. That's the power of silence. And listen, not everybody is meant to walk with you in this season. Some people were only assigned to your past, not your future. And the longer you try to drag them into places they weren't designed to go, the more delayed your destiny becomes. Let them go. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call it arrogance. You don't owe them your process. What you owe yourself is obedience, to follow where God is leading you, even if that path gets quiet. Growth is uncomfortable. It will stretch you. It will humble you. It will expose your weaknesses. But don't run from it. Don't numb it. Lean into it. Because God is not interested in making you popular. He's interested in making you powerful. And real power doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need attention. It just moves in purpose, speaks in wisdom, and walks in peace. So when you find yourself in that quiet season, don't rush out of it. Don't look for a way to escape. Learn to sit in it. Learn to listen. Learn to become. Because what God is doing in you during those silent moments is far greater than anything the world could offer you in the spotlight. You are being shaped. You are being sharpened. You are being made ready, not for people, but for purpose. Stay in the process. Stay in the silence. That's where the power is. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn in life is this. Not everyone deserves access to your journey. Not everyone is meant to sit at your table, know your plans, or walk beside you. And that's not pride, that's protection, that's wisdom. You can't build a life of peace if you keep handing out the keys to people who only bring chaos. Your purpose is sacred, and it must be guarded like something sacred, because the wrong people in the right places will always lead to the wrong outcomes. You don't need to explain yourself to everybody. You don't need to announce every move you make. The most powerful moments of your life will often happen in silence, and the most dangerous thing you can do is share something sacred with someone who's not spiritually mature enough to understand it. Just because someone is close doesn't mean they're called to go where you're going. Some people are familiar with you, but not assigned to you, and you've got to know the difference. We live in a culture where everyone wants to post it, prove it, publicize it. But listen to me, your next move should be between you and God. Keep it private, protect it. You don't have to prove to the world that you're growing. Growth will show itself in time. You don't need applause when you've got alignment. You don't need permission when you've got purpose. Let your life speak for itself. Let your character, your peace, your results do the talking. Some of the greatest setbacks come from trusting the wrong voices. You let them into your heart, your vision, your sacred places, and before long they start planting seeds of doubt, confusion, and fear. That's why you've got to be selective. Not cold, not bitter, just wise. There's a difference between having a good heart and giving it away to people who were never meant to carry it. Some folks were only supposed to pass through, but you gave them permanent residence. It's time to evict what no longer honors your growth. There's a weight that comes with calling, a responsibility that can't be shared with just anybody. If they don't carry the oil, they can't carry the weight. And if they don't understand the cost, they won't respect the blessing. You've got to stop expecting support from people who were never equipped to support you. It's not that they're bad, it's that they're not built for your path. And that's okay. Let them go in peace. God will often strip your circle down before He takes you higher, because elevation requires separation, and sometimes the silence you feel isn't loneliness, it's God clearing the room so He can speak to you without interference. You can't hear clearly when you're surrounded by noise. You can't grow fully when you're constantly explaining, defending, performing. There's a power in being still and moving quietly and trusting that what's for you doesn't need an audience to be secured. It's okay to move differently. It's okay to become distant. It's okay to outgrow people, places, and conversations. That's what growth does. It creates separation, not because you're better, but because you're becoming. You've changed. You've matured. You've learned how to value your time, your energy, your peace. And now, you're not so quick to invite people into spaces they haven't earned. That's not arrogance. That's stewardship. That's knowing that the more God gives you, the more He expects you to protect it. So let them say you've changed. Let them say you're quiet now. Let them say you're distant. They don't see the prayers behind the scenes. They don't know the weight you carry. They don't feel the calling that wakes you up in the middle of the night. You're not being rude, you're being responsible. You're not ignoring people, you're ignoring distraction. There comes a moment when you realize that protecting your peace is more important than being understood. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Just walk, just grow, just focus. Because the people who are truly for you won't need constant access to validate you. They'll respect the silence, honor your journey, and meet you at the next level if they're meant to be there. You don't need the crowd to clap. You need the courage to continue. When you focus on yourself, you begin to realize something powerful. Peace is not something you have to chase. It's something you create within yourself. So many of us spend our lives looking for peace in external things. Relationships, possessions, status, the approval of others. We think that if we can just get everything right on the outside, then we'll finally feel the calm we've been longing for. But the truth is, peace isn't found in anything outside of you. It's found when you make the decision to stop depending on circumstances and people to provide it. When you stop watching others and start working on yourself, everything begins to shift. There's a clarity that comes when you stop comparing. When you stop measuring your progress against theirs, you find a sense of freedom you didn't know was possible. You stop living under the weight of someone else's expectations, and you start living in alignment with your own purpose. And it's a beautiful thing when you realize that you don't need anyone's permission to be at peace. You don't need to meet their standards. You need to meet God's standard for your life, and that's more than enough. The moment you decide to focus on yourself and not others, you'll notice how much energy you've been wasting on things that have no value. You'll notice how much time you've spent worrying about what others think, what they're doing, what they have, and what they're achieving. It's easy to get caught in that cycle, especially in a world that's always comparing and competing. But when you focus on your own growth, on your own purpose, on your own journey, you become so consumed with what's inside of you that you don't even have the capacity to compare. You begin to realize that what they're doing, what they have, what they say, it doesn't matter. Your peace comes from knowing that you're doing what you were called to do, not what someone else is doing. There's a profound strength in knowing that peace comes from within. When you learn to cultivate peace in your own heart, no one can take it from you. Life will throw everything it has at you: disappointment, rejection, loss, frustration. But if you built your peace from the inside out, nothing can shake you. The storm might rage around you, but you'll remain steady. And that's the kind of strength we need today. It's the kind of peace that isn't tied to a moment or a person. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. It's a peace that flows from God, not from circumstances. And when you find that peace, you'll see the fruit of it in your life: clarity, confidence, joy, and the ability to stand firm no matter what comes your way. And here's the beautiful part: when you cultivate this peace in yourself, everything around you begins to change. Relationships, situations, even challenges, they all start to shift. Why? Because peace has a power of its own. It changes the atmosphere. When you're at peace with yourself, you stop attracting chaos. You stop tolerating toxicity. You stop chasing things that drain you. You start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, and the right blessings. When you focus on yourself, when you make peace your priority, everything else aligns with that peace. The energy you put into your inner world starts to reflect in your outer world. So why do we keep running after external validation? Why do we keep looking for peace in people or things that can never provide it? It's because we've been conditioned to believe that our worth and our peace are tied to external things. But when you realize that peace is a choice and a process, you begin to take back control. You stop waiting for someone else to make you feel good about yourself. You stop depending on circumstances to define your joy. You decide that your peace comes from the inside out, and that's where your power lies. The world will continue to pull at you, to demand your attention, to try to shake you, to confuse you, to tell you that you're not enough. But you've got to remember, peace is your choice. You get to decide if you want to be swept away by the world's noise or if you want to anchor yourself in something that's unshakable. And once you make that choice, once you decide that your peace is non-negotiable, everything changes. No one can disturb your peace unless you let them. So focus on yourself. Work on yourself. Let your inner peace be a reflection of your faith, your strength, and your commitment to the journey. And when you do that, you'll be amazed at how everything else starts to fall into place. There's something powerful about being still in a world that is constantly moving. Everyone around you is running, hustling, climbing, and competing, and all the while, you're learning to sit in the silence. You're learning that progress doesn't always look like action. Sometimes progress looks like patience. It looks like waiting. It looks like trusting when the world tells you to panic. And in those quiet moments, God is doing something deep inside of you that doesn't require applause or acknowledgement. It's a work that can only be done in silence, and it's something you cannot rush. You see, the world will tell you to move faster, to push harder, to do more. But God will often call you to rest. He will call you to be still and know that He is God. In the stillness, you find your strength. In the silence, you find your clarity. In the waiting, you find your direction. Because sometimes the loudest thing you can do is nothing at all. It's not in the noise, the rush, or the struggle that your victory will be won. It's in the quiet moments of surrender. When we rush through life, we miss the moments that actually matter. We miss the lessons that are waiting for us in the stillness. And what you'll find as you focus on yourself and embrace silence is that the more you give God room to work, the more He will reveal to you. You see, silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of God's work in your life. It's when you stop trying to control everything, stop trying to manage every situation, and just let go, that God begins to take over in ways you never imagined. He moves in the silence, He works in the stillness, and He prepares you for what's ahead. We often don't understand the power of silence because we've been trained to think that noise equals productivity. But the truth is, some of your most important growth will happen when no one is looking, when no one is applauding, when no one is cheering you on. And in those moments, when you feel like nothing is happening, you're being prepared for something bigger than you could have ever imagined. It's in the waiting that God develops the character you need to handle what He's about to bless you with. God doesn't always move in ways that we expect. Sometimes He moves in ways that we don't understand, ways that don't make sense to us in the moment. But if you are willing to wait, to stay silent and to trust the process, you will see how He is working all things together for your good. And it's in the silence that you become stronger. It's in the stillness that you grow. The world tells you to keep moving, to keep striving, to keep pushing. But God says, be still and know that I am God. It's in that stillness that you find your confidence, your peace, and your power. The truth is, when you learn to be silent, you begin to hear things that you would have missed in the noise. You start to hear the voice of God more clearly. You start to hear the desires of your heart. You start to hear the things that truly matter, the things that are aligned with your purpose. And as you focus on yourself and embrace that silence, you start to realize that your life isn't defined by how much noise you make, but by the depth of your inner peace, your strength, and your faith. In that silence, you also find wisdom. The more you sit in stillness, the more you learn. You learn about yourself, you learn about your purpose, and you learn about what truly matters. You stop running after fleeting things, and you begin to focus on the eternal. And the longer you stay silent, the more you realize that the life you've been trying to build through your own effort was never meant to be built by you alone. It was meant to be built with God. And it's only when you learn to rest in His presence, to be silent before Him, that you start to see the true magnitude of the blessings He has for you. So stop trying to rush your process. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's. Stop looking at their progress and thinking you're behind. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Let God work in you during those moments when it feels like nothing is happening. Because in the silence, He's preparing you for something greater than you can even imagine. And when the time is right, you'll see the results of that quiet work in your life. And you'll know it was worth every moment of stillness. Stay silent. Stay focused. Trust the process.